Good morning. Happy Monday. We begin week 2, or we began week 2 actually yesterday. We kicked it off with a live interview with Tina Ferroni of Beyond Yoga Studio. And this week, good morning, Miriam. Welcome. Happy to see you joining us. This week, as we take on 31 days of Zen, continuing on, it's all about Pilates this week. So today's practice is going to be more of a beginner-oriented practice, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an easy practice. It just means that whether you are brand new to the practice or maybe you've been practicing for some time, it's a good refresher in that instance. And for someone who is just starting and just looking at Pilates maybe for the first time, you're able to actually learn some of the cueing and some of the positioning that is so crucial to have that perfect form, perfect foundation to build from. So don't be too scared of Pilates this morning as we begin. And we are just going to start off with, if you do have a blanket handy, that's the only prop that you're going to require today. You can have maybe a thicker mat. I'm demonstrating here. I typically go back and forth from my yoga mat to a Pilates mat. It really depends what the lineup is. Today it's all on the mat. We're not going to come to standing, so you can actually find that you've got more stability and that's why I like to use a yoga mat sometimes. They're a little bit thinner, so for any of the standing work, it's just easier to balance on it. Before we do get started though, I just want to bring to your attention, I mentioned this week's all about Pilates. Next week we go back to yoga, and then the following week we go back to Pilates. So we're going to keep building on all of these. So what you learn in this foundation, we're going to add on Wednesday at 4 p.m. is going to be Pilates, focusing really on the abdominals and the core, and Friday is going to be a total practice at 11 a.m. once again. So lots of variety. Next time that we do Pilates, we'll be adding in some props, and tomorrow and Thursday's videos is going to be more details about Pilates. So I know you're eager to actually get going, and don't forget Sundays are live, so with a guest. So as we begin, if you're using the blanket, you might want it for the back of your pelvis. Now, I'm just going to show you, when I'm talking about the sacrum, I'm talking about this area back here. So right back here is the back of your pelvis, and we're going to use that as a grounding place to kind of always bring our center there, because the foundational points of Pilates are control. This practice used to be called Contrology before it became Pilates. It's about centering. So that's centering within mind-body awareness, as well as centering within the body, awareness of your core. And it also will incorporate some real precision to your movement, your breath. We're going to talk about that as we go along, and we're also going to be executing not only with that precision, but lots of the control that comes into play as well. So let's come onto the mat, and if you do use the blanket either for the back of your pelvis or maybe for the back of your head, and the way that would be utilized is if you find that when you lay on your mat, your chin is pointed way up in the air, or maybe you've got it kind of jammed this way, you can use the blanket to really help you to level, so your forehead and your chin are pretty much level. So I find that I don't particularly need to use the blanket, but if you do, it's really about your practice and using the things that are going to help you to make it what resonates best with your body, really speaks to you as far as what feels good and what feels effective. So as we come into this is called supine neutral. You can always come back to this position. It is, good morning, Eris. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. If you do have any questions about the practice as we go along, by all means, I'm keeping an eye so I can see what your comments might be. From time to time. I'll be checking in on them. So from here, you've got a nice neutral pelvis is the idea. So you might find that depending on your strength as well as how tight you are in the hips, it might be a little bit more challenging to achieve that. You may want to have a thinner blanket kind of underneath your pelvis to help you with your alignment. So you kind of want to maybe wiggle out your shoulder blades as well as the hips. Sometimes what I find is helpful is to press into your feet, lift your pelvis up, and then replace it back down again. So it just helps you to be in that nice alignment. We always want to have length as we execute any of the movements, so we don't want to be kind of scrunching up the spine. So if you think of your spine as a stacking of all of the joints, think about it as a jelly donut. So you've got the jelly in the center and you've got the donut on the outside, and those would be the disc, the bony portion, and then or the vertebrae, and then you've got your disc in the center, which is the jelly. So you don't want to squish that jelly, you want to protect it all the time. So you're going to have length and decompression when you are executing movements. So really important, and I will remind you of that as we go along. So in order to get lined up, you want to feel like you are neutral. So you don't have your tailbone pointed up in the air. You don't have it pointed down to the mat. So think of the contents in your pelvis. You don't want to have them spilling towards you. So if I press my back waist area into the mat, what happens is I'm going to point my tailbone up, and if I maintain too much of an arch, it's as if the contents would spill forward, and I'm going to have too much of an arch here, which is going to strain and stress my back. Excuse me. So from here, let's tune into our breath before we actually incorporate movement, placing one hand on the abdomen and then one hand on the side on the rib cage. So you want to wrap the fingers around here. Taking a deep inhale through your nose, filling up your belly. Feel your hand actually pushing into, or the belly actually pushing into your head. And then when you exhale through your mouth, just relax your jaw. So let's repeat that a few times. You've got the center back of your head pressing into the mat or into your blanket. Breathe in, filling up, pushing belly into the hand, feeling the ribs expanding, and then breathe out. So a few more like that, just to really establish that mind-body connection. So as you keep breathing this way, the mind-body connection that Joseph Pilates really believed was the key to overall wellness is, interestingly enough, when we are living in a place where we react and we're not mindful of our bodies, whatever our activities, we're using our limbic brain. So that's our more reptilian, our animal brain. But when we establish the mind-body connection, we actually start to utilize our cerebral cortex, which helps to develop our brains and have them be more effective. So it's very interesting how that is incorporated in our physical practice. Now, the next time that you breathe out, notice how the belly falls and draws toward your spine. Hold that engagement. Don't let your belly move. See if you can take a full breath without letting your belly push into your hand any longer. Now you're going to notice your rib cage is going to swell more. And then breathe out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth helps you to really grab that oxygen on the way in. Helps you to relax your neck, shoulders, chest, upper back when you breathe out. So keep breathing that way. So you already are going to start to engage your powerhouse by breathing that way. So you keep practicing that as I chat about it here. So while you're doing that, what's going on, that hold that you have in your abdomen is actually starting to recruit the muscles of your powerhouse. So that is the pelvic floor muscles and your lower abdomen muscles. Those are going to be giving you the strength and the power that you need to execute these movements of strengthening your midsection. So keep your breath going. And the way that you're breathing now, you can relax your hands at your sides, but keep that hold in your abdomen. Don't let it go. So you're not squeezing with all your might here. You're only engaging about 30-50% maximum of your capacity. You're not engaging your glutes at this point. You're just using those deep core muscles. So from here, maintaining your supine neutral, let's start to become really aware of our positioning of the pelvis. Taking an inhale without lifting your spine off the mat. Lift your tailbone off the mat. And you'll notice that you really tilt the pelvis anterior or posteriorly. And from here, bring it back to your neutral placement. And now, tipping the pelvis toward your tailbone. So press your tailbone toward the floor. So you'll notice now you're tipping the pelvis anteriorly. So you're making the arch in your back waist larger. Come on back to neutral. So imagine you have a clock where your sacrum is. So your tailbone is 6 o'clock. The top of your pelvis, or the top of your sacrum, is 12 o'clock. Your left hip is 3 o'clock and your right hip is 9 o'clock. So from here, take an inhale, bringing the tailbone up, pressing down at 12 o'clock. Keeping that powerhouse engaged and bringing it back to 6 o'clock. So it's a very slight movement, but this is going to help you to differentiate the engagement that your powerhouse requires in order for you to execute your movements, going back to 6 o'clock and over to 12 o'clock. Now come back to your neutral position. So right in the middle. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, bring your pressure down at 3 o'clock. Bring it back to the center and bring it over to 9 o'clock. And back to the center. So it's a pretty small movement. So we're just going to go back to 3, to center, to 9, to center, and now bringing it to 12, roll the pressure over to 3, to 6, to 9, and to 12. Very subtle movement. So let's do that again, from 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and back to 12. Let's go in reverse. So from 12 over to 9, to 6, to 3, and to 12. One more time. right over to 9, 2, 6, 3, and 12. Take it back to the center. Find your neutral position here. Just lengthen out the legs for a moment here and take a big stretch, reaching the arms out nice and long, reaching the tippy toes away from you as you breathe in to get lots of leg stretching, opening up the body. And then take it back to your supine neutral, your basic starting position here. Bringing the arms at your sides and opening up the chest. Now think about creating some width and separation in your collarbones. Taking an inhalation as you bring your right arm back and exhale as you replace it. Now as you do this, we're going to do it a few more times with the right arm. And you're going to notice that you can isolate the movement so that only your arm is moving. Now this seems pretty simple, pretty basic, but what we want to enforce is the stability in the core. Switch over to your left arm, breathing in to bring it back. And this also helps to warm up the shoulders and get your breath movement connection established as well. And as we bring, we also want to prevent the lifting up of those lower ribs. So let's try with both arms. Keep your rib cage still as you do this. Taking an inhalation, your spine does not move, and exhalation as you bring the arms back. So breathing in and breathing out. Great way to warm up those shoulders and to really be in tune with your powerhouse as well as the rest of the spine. As you bring the arms back, take a moment to pause. Now I'd like you to think of having 5 press points here as well. Another great way to get in tune with your alignment and the engagement in your body. So think of your pelvic floor as the first one. And how you engage the pelvic floor is if you think of a really long lineup for the washroom, you're giving that little lift upward and drawing up. Now pulling through the lower abdomen. And if you want to know more about the pelvic floor, you can tune in on my channel to a chat that I did last week with Yo and the Genia, who went in great depth about pelvic floor engagement. The next one is going to be your navel. So think about bringing your lower belly towards your sacrum, your navel towards your spine, your xiphoid process, so right at the base of your sacrum, or your sternum, and then the middle of your sternum. So think of pressing this downward while the corresponding spots in the back press up. So it's as if you're trying to snap them in place. So by maintaining that engagement in those points, it's going to help you to keep the chest open, to keep the rest of your core nice and solid. It's a lot of technical details, but these, as I refer back to them, are going to really help you with your execution. So as we have done with the lifting of the arms. So let's see if we can go a little bit bigger now. And we're going to bring the right knee in a tabletop position. So if you can see that, I've got my knee over my hip. So I'm not bringing it in here. I'm just placing it over my hip, and my shin is nice and level. So right away, this is going to cause me to engage my powerhouse for sure, to not let my pelvis move around at this point. So from here, let's see if we can maintain that and bring both of the legs up into a tabletop. Now, if this is too much, you're going to feel the work right away. Doesn't seem like a lot, perhaps visually, but there's a lot going on just to maintain a neutral spine and keep the legs in this position. So if it's too much, you can bring one foot back down as we take an inhale and bring the right arm long and bring the left leg long also and bring it back. Now you could focus on simply doing the leg if you just want to get yourself familiar with that sensation of keeping the pelvis neutral. Now, by incorporating the arm at the same time, you're keeping that entire core and torso nice and still. And then bring it back, and you can bring the foot down or keep it lifted as we switch and do the other side. So same thing again. You can have one leg only moving, or you can incorporate the arm movement, making sure your neck alignment here is staying nice and still. If you incorporate the arm, we bring up both limbs long away from the center that I talked about earlier with centering. So again, if you've been practicing for a while, this is really taking it back to the basics. So important. Now as we bring this in, let's bring the leg down, take a little pause. You can kind of relax it as you gently microblade the legs a little bit side to side, relaxing the hips, because we do, although we've got a lot of core focus, abdominal focus, we still end up using the hip flexors for some of these movements. Now, as we reset to our neutral spine, let's see if we can amp it up a little bit. You know how to make it a little bit easier if you need to, so go ahead and do that. Let's take it up to our tabletop position with both legs. Only one if you need to. So from here, arms are at the sides. Take an inhalation. Let's reach the right leg and left arm long. So a little bit more concentration here. Let's switch it over, right arm, left leg. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out as you reach. So the rule of thumb with your breathing, not only through the nose, out through the mouth, but also you're breathing in when it's easy and you're breathing out when it is more difficult. So when you get to the challenging portion of the movement, you're breathing out. Now, how is this feeling for your spine? Now, if you find that your pelvis is starting to tilt when you reach away, then you're going to stop the movement right at that point where you feel like your spine and pelvis is changing. So from here, you can bring both feet back down to your mat. You can bring the knees into your body, give yourself a hug, and give yourself a little bit of back massaging as well, just to release any kind of tension. You can take the hands to your kneecaps. You can make some rotations here. So it's really, really important at any point to give yourself the break that you need. Listen to your body. I'm just here to guide you and to give you some options. So as you come back to your neutral spine, you're going to open up through the chest here, arms at your sides. Let's see if we can engage and recruit more of the rectus abdominis. So those are the six-pack muscles through the front of the body. Be very cautious of what's going on with your neck. If your abdominals are weaker, you're going to find that there's more struggle to your neck. So as your abdominals get stronger, it's going to get easier on the neck. So if you need to take a break at any point, rest the head on the floor, you go ahead and do that, skip some repetitions. But just to introduce the crunch, we are going to have the arms extended at our sides as we start. Taking an inhale, as you exhale, I'd like you to imagine you have a golf ball right below the chin that you are holding on to. And notice how it helps to bring my head over my shoulders. And I can reach the arms up from here and I bring my gaze right around here. Take an inhale, exhale with control. So of course, in these positions, you're not able to take a belly breath. So it comes back to breathing laterally into your ribs and into your chest. So let's try that again. Take an inhalation,
Nod your chin as you hold on to that golf ball. Reach those fingers forward, coming up as much as you can on the bottom tips of the shoulder blades and rolling with articulation back down to your spine. Breathing in, tucking and breathing out as you reach. Let's keep it going. You'll feel those abdominal muscles working, and that's what we want. We want to strengthen those, getting the results, and feeling yourself getting stronger over time. So we're going to do another 3 of these. So if you need to break, go ahead. Breathe in, breathe out. Try to get up onto the bottom tips of those shoulder blades. Again, remember keeping your gaze to your thighs. Quite often I'll see students looking up at the ceiling. That means you're going to have to keep your neck extended. If you're looking up here, all the pressure's on your neck. You want to have the pressure right here as you articulate through. So let's do one more. I always lose track as I start talking, to making sure that we get enough of these in, keeping the chest really proud as you roll up and you roll down, and then bring it back in. Bring those knees and lift your nose, your knees, little hug, and let's release. So from here, we're going to continue to add on, and we're adding on a bridge. So you're going to maintain the feet in your supine neutral position. And just as we did earlier with the clock, where we were really concentrating on the movement within the pelvis, we're going to do the same thing now as we focus on starting from the center of your sacrum. Pelvis is nice and even. You could actually balance a water bottle here, a glass of water, because you're so level. Okay, open up the chest. So remember your press points, snapping them in all the way through to the middle of your sternum. Collarbones nice and open, pressure in the center back of your head. Shoulder blades are anchored. Take an inhale. Now bring the pressure to 12 o'clock on your sacrum, which means you pick up the tailbone and then keep going one vertebra at a time as you lift your hips. You don't have to go very high to bring them up. Now you are going to engage your gluteal muscles to help to lift those hips if you can. You've got a nice long line from your collarbones to your knees. You're drawing the inner thighs together. Your feet should be slightly apart, not touching. Take another inhale at the top here, and then start from the top. So from your shoulder blades, slowly releasing one vertebra at a time to bring your spine back down to your mat. Very carefully and steadily releasing to come back to neutral, where you're once again level through that pelvis. Let's do it again. Take an inhale. Let's start to bring the sacrum to 12 o'clock as you lift that tailbone, lifting it up, slow and easy, gradual engagement of your press points. You should feel your inner thighs kind of squeezing together as well. They're not touching. They're just intended toward each other. And from here, you breathe in, a little sip of air to help you to exhale from the top, one vertebra at a time, to bring your spine all the way back down, sacrum down, back to neutral through your pelvis. So this might seem like it's really slow going, but this is your foundation. This is what's going to help you add on so that by the second week of Pilates that we're doing this month, we are getting into some tricks So we need to have the foundation down pat first. So take an inhale. We're going to do another 4 of these. So breathing in as we start to press to 12 o'clock, picking up that tailbone, gradually working your way up, articulation of the spine, coming up to the shoulder blades, beautiful leveling from the collarbones to your knees, engagement of the inner thighs, slowly working your way from the top all the way down. Jason, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate your support, my Canadian friend. Be sure, everybody, to check out Jason's channel. He is amazing vocals. So let's keep going here, articulating our way up. So we're rolling from one to the other as we open up, lengthening, giving the little squeeze of those gluteal muscles as we keep that control. Pressing into the feet as well. Be aware. So remember that cerebral cortex is getting developed even more as you establish everything that's going on within your body. Right from the balls of your feet, the pads of your toes, to your collarbones, your shoulders, the center back of your head, your neck alignment. It's all messages that are traveling up and down that spine to that cerebral cortex to reinforce the control, the precision of your movements. It's quite amazing. We often think of these practices simply as physical, but the physical and the mental are totally connected. You can't separate them. So the benefits you get on your mat are going to benefit you in every aspect of your life. And from here, we roll it all the way back down. And we're going to bring the right knee into the chest here. So adding on, as we're going to stretch out the hamstring. So we're still maintaining the control here. We still want to be neutral through our pelvis as we draw the leg in closer toward the body. And if your hamstrings are really tight, it might look more like this. So all you're trying to do is just bring it to the straightest point that you can without ever locking your knees. So if you are able to straighten your leg, you want to feel your quads engaging here, but you don't want to feel like you're jarring in your joint. And you're gently pulling to stretch and to lengthen that leg. Now, as you keep the leg extended, whatever that looks like for you, you can bring the arms at your sides, and you might keep this leg, your left leg, bent in a neutral position, or you might be comfortable to bring it long. Now, if you're bringing it long, just be cautious that it's not changing the integrity of your alignment. You're reaching through those tippy toes, and we're going to come into some leg circles here. They're not very big circles, so think about staying within a box here. So wherever your shoulders are and your hips are, you're staying within that range at this time. And you're simply going to draw those circles on the ceiling as best as you can, but take your hands and place them on your hips to make sure your hips aren't kind of wobbling side to side, and then go in the opposite direction. Circling around, staying nice and steady, breathing in and out, drawing those circles, keeping that engagement in your quadriceps. And from here, we bring it back to center. You can bend the leg back to tabletop and float that foot back to your mat. From here, we prepare to warm up and stretch out the opposite leg. So same thing, clasping behind the leg. You can extend it up and pull to draw your thigh to belly. Open up through the chest And again, maybe you're able to go a little deeper. Maybe you maintain your bend. So depending if you're doing this now and you haven't been moving so far this morning, it might be quite tight. If you are catching it on the replay, depending when you're doing it in the day, it's going to depend just how tight those hamstrings might be and what you've been up to the last few days. So as we warm that up, same thing, we've got the option of keeping that right foot on the floor with the leg bent as we come into our leg circles, or you could extend the leg out. So it's all about maintaining neutral spine, neutral pelvis, drawing those circles and preventing your pelvis from wobbling. So you're using your core strength, even though you're working the leg as well. It's all about what's going on in your core that we're focusing on here. So drawing those circles, keeping it nice and smooth. They're going in the opposite direction, by the way, if you didn't change directions. And as you bring it back, let's bend that leg and float it down. Bring the knees in. And from here, we're going to roll up and we're going to massage the spine. So you can roll back and forth. Now, if this is too much for you at this stage, you might just roll through your side to make your way up to a seated position. Now, in our seated position, we are going to keep the knees bent, and we're practicing the roll up, but the way we're doing it as more of a beginner is to roll down and then roll back up. But we're not coming all the way down to the floor, and you can also use your hands to help you. So with the hands on your legs, you can maybe hold on to the backs of the legs here, or hold on to your knees, wherever it's going to feel best for you. You're going to take a deep breath, and as you exhale, the chin, and look toward the navel as once again, you're really scooping your belly in. You're keeping your collarbones broad, and think about those press points that I discussed earlier. You're keeping those engaged, and you're rolling yourself back up, either strictly with your abdominal strength or using your arms to kind of teach and get that cerebral cortex working for you as you exhale when it's harder, and you're always going to breathe in when it's easier. So use those arms to guide you up, to come back and reposition your spine. Breathing in and breathing out. So I can already feel this really working my abdominals. So, it really depends. I feel I have a pretty strong core, but by concentrating and really executing these movements as a focus of keeping everything engaged and in proper form, you are going to get the workout. So even though this is very simple, basic, foundational, you're still working here. Even if you're using your arms, focus on pulling that belly button to your spine. Focus on the form of your neck, tucking that chin, and keeping those shoulders well away from your ears. It's another thing I'll see sometimes is you just working really hard and you're bringing those shoulders up to the ears. Avoid doing that. Really think about being like a ballet dancer. You've got a nice long neck, proud chest, and I always like to say, think about really displaying a beautiful necklace, statement necklace, or gentleman. Maybe you want to display a beautiful bow tie or necktie. So you want to be really open through your chest and neck. Breathing in. Let's do one more here for good measure. And take it back up. Maybe you don't need your hands as you get warmer and feel yourself getting stronger. All right, so from here, we're going to reverse that, and we're going to come onto our stomach to also focus
the powerhouse of the core, working through some of the back muscles that are equally as important. So we don't want to just focus on the front of the body. We need to balance it out. It's like any kind of workout that you do. If you're doing weights, you are going to work the biceps and you're going to work the triceps. You always work the opposing muscles. That's where sometimes imbalances can happen. In Pilates, I've heard of it happening where people are very focused on only doing the exercises for those rectus abdominis. The show muscles are the ones in the front. The go muscles are the ones in the back, or the aesthetic and the athletic at the back. So let's come on to our show muscles so we can work those go muscles. So first, we're going to bring the hands right outside of the chest, lengthening through the tops of the feet, pressing the tops of the feet into your mat, drawing the elbows in as you inhale and lifting up. So you're peeling your chest, as much of your ribs as you can away from your mat, and then you are rolling it back down again. So this is called swan preparation. You're going to really feel yourself long. Now you're trying to tuck your tailbone a little bit toward the mat, and that's going to result in decompressing this lower back. And as you slide and anchor your shoulder blades in position, you are going to stay long through your neck. So take an inhale, and as you exhale, you're lifting up. So you're using the support of your hands, but you are also using your back muscles to pick you up and lift you up. So breathing in at the bottom, breathing out. Really focus on your form. If you feel your shoulder blades starting to slide up, or the tops of your shoulders drawing towards your ears, don't go any further up. Just focus on getting that form just right before you get any more height. So let's do another 4 of these guys. So breathe in and breathe out. As you lift up, you are going to ensure that you use your gaze, but you're not cranking your head back. You're looking forward, upward, not directly upward. So we've got 2 more here. Breathing in at the bottom when it's easy. Breathe out. And 1 more. And as we come all the way down, we're going to simply push into the hands and knees to press back into a child's pose. Thank you, Alicia. I'm happy that you are loving it. It is really great to get back to basics. So this gives us a counter stretch to the back because we've just been really working on arching. And if you're not used to back bending, that can feel quite demanding, as back bends are much more demanding energetically. Now, as we come onto our forearms, coming back down once again, you're going to bring your hands to opposite elbows just to get an idea of proper spacing here. And we're coming into single leg kicks here. So you're going to extend the forearms away from you. If this is too deep of a back bend, just take your elbows further forward. So you would walk them away from you so that you decrease the angle a little bit, but still very mindful of your form so that you're not collapsing into any of your joints. You want to feel yourself lifting away, really creating space in all of the joints. So as you draw your tailbone towards your mouth, once again, you are going to take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to flex your right ankle and bring the heel towards your bottom with a kick to exhale, and then stretch and reach it away. Take a breath in and exhale for single leg kicks. Now, as you execute this, the idea is to keep that upper body still, keep the pelvis nice and still and really focus on the gluteal muscles, the hamstring muscles, as you bring and draw your leg up. So breathe in as you extend, breathe out, out, breathe in and out, out, breathe in and out, out. Inhale, exhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, exhale. Try not to tip your hips side to side, just like when we were doing our movements on our back with the leg circles. And from here, we're going to do one more inside. And again. And bring yourself down. Press into the hands. Come on back to your child's pose, as it's known in Pilates as shell stretch. So you're simply bringing the forehead. You can bring the forehead to your mat. You can bring the knees a little bit further apart as you surrender into this position. Coming into table on all fours on hands and knees, we're just going to come into a lateral cat, as it's known in Pilates. So you want to make sure that you've got a nice neutral spine here, always neutral spine. You're going to shift your hips over to the right and looking to the left, looking past your left shoulder, and you're just holding it here. Then bring it back to the middle, keeping the spine neutral, hips to the left, looking to the right. And let's do that again one more time to each side. So lateral cat, hips to the right, gaze to the left, through the center, hips to the left, and gaze to the right. And bring it back. From here, we're going to walk the hands away to make our way into a plank position. So from here, in a beginner plank, you're going to have the hands. Now, having a thicker mat sometimes can be problematic for people with the wrists. So what you could do if you're using a thicker mat, you could simply roll it in towards you or walk yourself further forward so that your hands are right under your shoulders and you're a little bit more solid with a thinner mat or on a floor surface. You want to spread those fingers apart. Now, in a beginner plank, we have the knees on the floor, and we really want to focus on those press points, pelvic floor. And I'm just going to show you another modification here, is to come down onto your forearms. Because for some of you, being on the hands may make it much, you're further away from the floor, so you may find that it is much more challenging. So you could modify this way, which will encourage you to make your way into a regular plank with the knees completely off the floor. Now, from here, you could also add on from your hands to a regular plank as well. So you've got lots of options to work your way into plank, which will lead us eventually into leg pull. We've got front leg pull and we have back leg pull in Pilates, as we have a plank as you've just seen, and there's a reverse plank as well. So for today, we just focus on the regular plank. So find the one that best suits your needs, whether you're on your forearms, on your knees, on your hands, on your toes, and we're going to hold it there for a count of 10. So come on down to find your plank, and if you start out in one and you have to change it into the other, that's totally fine. As you're ready, making sure that you've got that beautiful alignment through the body, you're reaching through the top of the head. The hands are spread wide. You're pressing into the base of your index finger, thumb, as well as into the base of the other fingers. You're staying nice and level through the body. The legs are strong, backs of the knees pressing toward the ceiling. And we've got about another 3 counts here as we breathe in and breathe out through the mouth. Another 2. So those are long counts, I know. But, you know, you got to challenge yourself. Last one. And bring those knees all the way down. push back, enjoy a nice neutral stretch here, bringing the forehead to your mat. Slowly, let's unroll and make our way back to a seated position. So as we come into seated, we're just going to bring the legs about the width of your mat, maybe a tiny bit wider, tiny bit narrower, but more or less. And you are going to stay stacked, so shoulders remain over top of your hips, bringing the arms nice and wide open. Navel to the spine, remember your press points. Take a breath in, reach the crown of your head up a little taller. And as you exhale, taking your left hand toward your right pinky toe, pinky finger to pinky toe, as we double pulse. Inhale, this is called saw. Twisting to work those obliques. Exhale, exhale. Breathing in and breathing out, out. Inhale and exhale, exhale. So it is really important to get long as you reach forward. So reach the top of your head up, maintain it like that, and then reach across. So you don't want to, remember that jelly donut? You don't want to be squishing it. You want to keep all that gooey jelly inside the donut so that you are supporting your back at all times. Let's do one more to each side. Exhale, exhale. So nice long reach. Last one. Exhale, exhale. Bring it up and release. Take a few shoulder rolls here. Holding up those arms can be quite demanding and challenging, especially long arms. They are, the longer the lever, the more challenging it is. So let's come up to sitting once again as we did earlier, but this time we're going to move toward preparation of open rocker. But we're not going to rock today, we're just going to balance. So as you bring the legs in, come on up onto your tippy toes and see if you can bring the legs up kind of in that tabletop position. Now you might be able to actually reach for the ankles, holding onto your ankles here. And we're just going to stay here and hold the balance. If you want to play around a little bit more, get a little more adventurous, maybe you can open the legs and straighten them and bring them just slightly apart, holding as you check in, see what's happening with your chest, what's happening with your upper back, your navel. Are you still scooping that belly in toward your spine as you hold your balance here? And as we bring the legs back together, bring it back to a bend and float those feet down. So from here, taking an inhalation as you exhale, either the hands reach forward or you're still holding onto the legs, especially as your muscles are getting more fatigued. Tucking that chin in and rolling one vertebra at a time to bring your spine down to the mat. From here, we bring the hands down to the floor, walking the feet in once again, and floating those knees up to tabletop. Now, do a little toe tap here, alternately side to side. This would be your easier option. Or you can straighten the legs and lower one leg without moving your pelvis, keeping you neutral still, and the other. Eventually, as you come back on Wednesday, we might add in some double leg lifts because it's going to be all about getting more power in that abdominal region. And from here, you can bring both legs up, bring a bend to the knees, hug them in, hands over the kneecaps, making some circles here, massaging out the back. Let's massage it out the other way. And adding just a little bit more challenge before we stretch it out to wrap up our session today. You've got the hands at your sides again, feet firmly planted. Let's curl up that tailbone, lift it up into your bridge, pressing into the left foot. Let's see if we can pick up the right leg, keeping it in a tabletop.
and bringing that foot, replacing it back down again. Let's try the left leg and bring it up and down, or just keep holding your bridge as we lift and just slightly lower and lift, really working on strengthening those glutes, keeping those abdominals, the organs in the abdominal region well sandwiched between the front and the back of the body. So keep squeezing those glutes. Got another 5 of these. 4. Remember, legs intended towards each other. 3, 2, and last one. Roll it all the way down and hug those legs back in again. Nice squeeze here. Stretch the legs away, lengthen out, open up the full length of your body, really creating some space here. Stretching through the arms, you can interlace the fingers, press the palms away from the rest of the body, reaching the tippy toes away from you. Also, bringing your right knee into your body. Give it a good squeeze, a little bit of a massage to the hip joint as you make some rotations with the knee in both directions. From here, you can change hands. Bring that knee right across over to the opposite side. So coming into a spinal twist, making sure that your right shoulder blade stays anchored into the floor. You can even turn your head and look toward your right hand, closing your eyes and just softening up through your jaw, your facial features. And then bring it back center and switch it. So hold on to that left knee, pull it in. Relax that upper body. So remember, you always want to be relaxed in the neck and in the shoulders. Bring that, first of all, we'll circle it around a few times. We want to not cheat the side of any benefit, any nurture that we did on the opposite side. I don't want one side of the body to be jealous of the other. And taking your right hand across to pull it over. Anchoring the left shoulder this time. Again, once you get into your twist, you can relax into the twist a bit more. Let your breathing become much less controlled and more about breathing in to feel good and feel nurtured, feel the stretch, and then let it go. Come on back and let's bring those knees and give it a squeeze. From here, we are going to roll onto our side and pressing the floor away and moving into a seated position, just taking your right shin across the top of the mat and taking your left foot towards you. So kind of creating, oh, hi, Kristen. So nice to see you. Happy that you are here. We're just doing our wrapping up stretch here. So let's take a nice big breath in mermaid as we bring the left hand or right hand down, reach up and over with the left one. So you can stay here nice and low with the pelvis anchored down, or you can reach up and really extend, kind of giving the pelvis a little bit of a stretch forward as you take the arm alongside the ear. As you take it back down again, we can even reach for that left foot and give it a little pull toward the body. So we just have been doing a beginner's Pilates practice today. So it was really about introducing the foundational movements to anchor and to really help develop the mind-body connection, that brain connection that we are able to really strengthen, and really strengthening in the cerebral cortex as well. So it is awesome to stretch out the quads as well as the flexors. Excellent. Glad to hear that, Kristen. It's really nice to have you join us. Kristen has an awesome yoga channel, so you might want to check her out. She's got some really good meditations as well. So coming back to our
mermaid position here. We want to try to intend the sit bones down, but you might find that the back leg hip is lifted a little bit more, and that's okay. You can even bring a blanket underneath your hips to kind of level them out a little bit more easily. As you reach up and over, feel that stretch and that length, and lifting again if you want that extra. So only if it feels good to your body. All I'm doing is I'm giving you the options to really find what resonates best with you and your body, and you are the guide, or you are intuitively knowing what's going to feel best for you, because you know what's in your body. You know how it feels much more than I do. So listen to it. As we take the feet together, coming into a little bit of a butterfly here, you can draw the toes or hold on to the toes, draw the heels in towards you, and take a deep breath to get lots of length, lots of space, and then tipping forward to allow those hips to open up maybe a little bit more. We did that engagement of those inner thighs when we were doing those bridges, and even when we were doing those leg circles, we had these inner thighs engaged. So this is a really good way to release them. And from here, let's come on back. Take the hands behind you and lifting the chest, lifting your abdominals upward to get a little tiny bit of a back bend here, so that you get a stretch in those abs. You probably got to feel some burn in there. Even though we kept it pretty gentle, we still were working those abdominal muscles. So coming into cross-legged, let's take the hands to the knees. Let's move through a few cow-cats here, breathing in to open up the chest, and then breathing out to tuck the chin and round as you scoop the belly. And just link this movement with your breathing as well, and feel the massaging effect this has on your whole spine, rewarding your spine for that hard work that you just put it through, and then release. So taking your opposite ankle in front, we stay lifted, and let's finish up here with a little bit more massaging of the hips, the spine, as we come into some beautiful circles. So let's bring it back up, inhale, and go the other way. You can close the eyes if that helps you to stay more connected, resonating more with what's going on in the body. And let's take it all the way up, bringing the hands to the heart, and just taking a moment to check in and feel the effect of your dedicated time of practice. Pilates, just like yoga, is a discipline, and you dedicating time away from everything else that can pull you in so many directions, and brought you here today to practice, to strengthen, and to just be good to yourself. Give yourself some gratitude for that. And namaste. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, we continue on our 31 days of Zen content every single day for the month. And tomorrow I'll be bringing you to a video just talking more about the differences between Pilates and yoga. Some people are often confused by the two and what the difference is, and similarities, as there's many, might be. Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be bringing to you a Pilates practice where we work on those abdominal muscles, really focusing on the core. So we're going to put what we learned today into practice, and you are going to amp it up from today for sure. So thank you so much, Miriam. You are very welcome. I'm happy that you were able to make it to join us today, and have a wonderful day, everyone, as we move on to take on the rest of the day. So wonderful day, everybody. So bye for now. Take care, and let's meet again really soon tomorrow.